Possession crucial from this. How much longer will the referee allow? Dublin lead by a point, and there's the whistle. It's over. It's over.
We earned it by winning the last 2 matches on the road, and that's not going to be taken away from us.
But what I love in hurling, I love players that will never give in.
He hits it. He hits it. It's over the bar. Oh, holy Moses.
Hello and welcome to My Icons, a special edition of the RTE GAA podcast. I'm Owen Ryan, and I'm delighted to be joined today by Carlow footballer Paul Broderick to talk about his GAA heroes. Thanks for joining us, Paul.
No bother, Owen. Glad to be here.
So tell me, who was your inspiration growing up?
I suppose a lot of, you'd have your own inspiration in your own county. It pains me to say it, but Éire were doing very well when I was growing up, and they'd be our arch rivals. But there was guys like Muckle Keaton, Anthony Keaton, and Colin Hayden who were inspirational. I always kind of liked guys, I suppose, they were forwards that could do things on the field that other lads couldn't do, and you'd always aspire to be kind of like that. They kick scores and scored goals when teams needed them. When Éire were on runs in Leinster Championships, like in the 90s, and then I suppose on a bigger scale, I was always, I think it came from my dad, but I was always mad after Meath, and I had a love for them, and it was kind of, he took me to a Leinster final when I was younger. Long story short now, but my mum was a travel agent, and we used to go on these spur of the moment holidays. So basically, the night before, she'd say, "Look, there's a deal on wherever we're going." So there was this type of holiday anyway. We went up, and I think we were on our way to the airport. Now it would have been mid-90s, so you might know the year of the actual game. But I know that we used to go on separate flights sometimes. So myself and my dad were on a flight. My mum, my sister might be on a standby flight or whatever. And this is the way it'd work. So we were in a separate car, and we were early. Their flight was before ours. So we went up. It was the day of the Leinster final, and he took me into the Leinster final. And I remember it being absolutely packed, but we managed to get tickets outside or whatever. And Dublin played Meath, and Meath won. And I'd say it was maybe 94, 95. I'm not sure, but I remember ever since then, it was guys like Trevor Giles, Graham Geraghty, and these type of lads. And it was just, it was my first exposure to a big crowd, and kind of saying, geez, someday I'd love to do something like this. It was just unbelievable. And the fact that Meath won, and I kind of had a graw for them anyway. It was a special day. And then sure, off on holidays, it couldn't have been much better really. It was all downhill from there. But yeah, that's probably my earliest memory of heroes that that kind of inspired me. When I was, you probably no different to any young fella or girl, when they're growing up and thinking about football, you draw out the 32 teams in your room, and I'd always give Carlow maybe an easy draw in the first round, and they'd get so far, but because Carlow might have won, they might have won a game or two, I'd let them through a game or two, and then they'd be knocked out. This is all be the front garden, on your own, and you'd be the winning score. The winning score was nearly always for Meath, and I don't know what it was. When I was, I'd say it was 99, I was in first year, and the mini sevens tournament, which I think has kind of gone by the wayside now, but I was selected to play in Croke Park, and it was Meath Cork final, so it would have been 99, and I got a Meath jersey and full Meath gear, and you play at half time, and sure, when you're that age, you think that's what everyone's turned up to see, do you know what I mean? And it was great. So that kind of added to it again, the Meath thing. So they were winning every All-Ireland out in the Garden at the time.
They were beating Carlow in the final, was it?
Carlow would always come close now, and they probably won one. There'd be 3 All-Irelands a week, so they weren't doing too bad to win one.
And your father was a Meath man?
No, he wasn't. It was just, I suppose, when you're growing up, I always found this. My grandmother was huge into GAA, and she was very fond of Kerry, and I suppose it was I would have kind of gotten that from her. Kerry were successful, but probably when she was younger, and then Meath were very successful when I was at an age that we were watching it on telly. So I suppose being from the country, many times it was always whoever was playing the dubs, and it was Meath most years. They were meeting most years in, and as being from the country, it supported the team on TV that were playing the dubs, and I think that's maybe where it came from. I don't know. It's on the day itself. It's not that you would have been up for me, but I remember they won, so I thought they were heroes. But I always really wanted to take frees. I don't know what it was about it. Maybe, in my head, maybe I thought it was a handy role or something, or a way of getting on a team. But I remember Charlie Redmond was a guy, I used to look at, again, a unique style. He stood out, that he had a unique style, the kind of steps he would have taken up to the ball, the 3 steps wide and the jumps, and he was very accurate. And it was kind of, they're the type of players really that I looked at. It wasn't because anyone was from Meath. My dad's a Carlow man, a proud Carlow man, but it was Carlow in given years had mid-90s, I think, won an All-Ireland B, and we had a team to follow. But there would have been a couple of barren years there as well, so like if we were knocked out early, and this is obviously pre-qualifiers, you would almost take to a team to follow, and Meath were usually the one.
And Trevor Giles would have been your favourite of those players?
Yeah, probably Trevor Giles or Graham Geraghty. And I remember a fella, Tommy Dowd, I think he might have captained them the year in 99, but I remember him anyway. He was kind of a burly fella up front, and these were the lads. They were always forwards, always scorers, that I suppose, because that was my own position, and they were the kind of fellas you would look to when you were younger. And Giles, wasn't it Giles used to cut off the sleeves? It was always something who did, I'm sure he didn't do it for attention, but it was kind of something that would garner attention, and you'd look to it, and you'd and you kind of, you'd idolise these lads, and you'd nearly be rolling up the sleeves then when you're playing football in the garden. Like, and you think as a young lad, these lads would have no effect on me, but sure, of course, they have a huge effect. Like Ciarán McDonald, probably from Mayo, would have been another one. And again, wouldn't have played while he played, but would have been another one that kind of, and I was a left footer myself, I suppose. And again, to look at him, he looked kind of different, he kicked the ball kind of different. He did things kind of different. And he was the type of player, I suppose, when he got the ball, the crowd stood up, like something was going to happen. 90% of the time it was something good.
Did you dye the hair blonde and have the white boots for a couple of years then?
Yeah, I actually did, yeah. I dyed it. I used, I think it was called Sun In or something. I remember I put it in and it came out. You were supposed to give it 10 minutes at the hairdryer. And I'll never forget, I have a good friend of mine in my own club, and a strong Tinryland name, Evan Doyle. So the Doyle would be a strong name in Tinryland. Lots of Doyles played for Tinryland down through the years. And Evan was a good friend, but he was friends with another friend of mine. Anyway, I remember calling to the door, and I'd had the hairdryer for maybe an hour, and this was the day after. And the hair had gone orange pretty much. And Evan was ginger. And I remember his mother, this other guy, Richard, like a really good friend of mine still, and his mother coming out and goes, "Evan's at the door." And I was thinking, Jesus, definitely gone too far. As in, I didn't realise, I suppose, how ginger it had gone. But yeah, no, I would have been on the white boots train and the dyeing the hair for a while, all right, yeah.
And did it have an impact on the performances? Were you knocking over points from 50 yards?
I don't think so, no. I suppose there's only one formula for that, is practice.
Ciarán Mac was with Mayo last year as part of the backroom team. What do you think it'd be like having someone like that as a coach?
Yeah, I said I never met him. I don't know him personally, but I think, if I'm from Carlow and I held him in that high regard, I can only imagine what the Mayo lads would have thought of him, particularly forwards. And I would imagine he'd inspire. I remember seeing a video. It was before one of the games this year, and he was kicking points from just lining up drills or whatever, but he took the odd ball and he was swinging them over, and it garnered as much attention on Twitter and the likes as the game nearly did itself. He still has it, type of thing. But I'd imagine that they've huge respect, and when someone has respect like that, you're going to listen to what they say. And
you also had a hero a bit closer to home.
Yeah, my uncle Joe Broderick played for my own club, Tinryland, Carlow, and he represented Leinster in the Railway Cup. Back when I remember, one of my earliest memories, again, of football would have been going to a game. I was with my grandparents. I think it was up in Navan, and it was in a huge stadium. I remember sitting on a bank, a real sunny day, and I remember particularly sunny. I remember buying ice pops going in anyway, and I remember Joe made a big save. He was a goalkeeper, and there was a big roar from the crowd. And again, something as a young fella, you're kind of like, that's my uncle there causing that roar, or the roars of joy, and. Yeah, I had some great memories. I remember my cousin, so Joe's son Dara, I remember we used to try on the gear out, and Joe would be away. We get the shiny silky tracksuits between the Carlow tracksuit in Ireland or the Leinster tracksuit, and we'd be playing away out in the garden, and some great memories. Yeah, it's he's certainly someone I would have looked up to. And Colin Hayden, I'd see him around now. He's a member of the same golf club, and I remember when I was younger, I was downtown, I think it was around Patrick's Day or something, and he was chatting to my dad, and I was kind of thinking, how does this lad know my dad? Because I held him up here, and I remember asking Dad, for an autograph or whatever, and this completely went out of I was probably only maybe 11, 12 years of age, but I remember when a good few years later in the golf club, we were having a couple of drinks one night, and this was brought up, and sure, obviously I died with embarrassment, and at this stage where he's an adult, I'm an adult, but it was, it's funny things to remember, yeah.
In 2018, you were nominated for an All-Star. You were actually the first Carlow man to be nominated since Colin Hayden. I think it was 94.
Yeah, I remember that being said to me, and it kind of, I suppose, I didn't actually know at the time. I wouldn't have known. These things come out when you know yourself. It was an exciting time for me and my family, and like then in the next day or two, like I did a couple of interviews and stuff, and people said this to me, and I didn't have any idea. But yeah, he was like Rooster, they used to call him, is what I kind of, you know, when I was younger, like, and I think he was a full forward, and he was a powerhouse of a player. He was he could do everything, you know, and seemed to come away with, you know, kind of always had a tally. You know, if a team if they were 5 points down, it was the kind of thing that you would kind of, you know, if he got the ball to his hands, a bit like you describe a Ciarán McDonald or one of these guys where you get the ball into their hands in that last 10 minutes and it's off the script at that stage. Like it's kind of, you know, they might be able to do something they can see and someone else can't. But yeah, it was an interesting stat, all right. Nice to be in the same company.
And he was nominated after the year that Carlow won the Be All Ireland. Would that make you think about the Tailteann Cup? Kind of maybe it might be worth a shot, or what's your feeling on that?
I actually remember, to be honest, when you're young, I'd say I was in about what year did you say it was? That
94.
94, yeah. So I would have been younger again, maybe second or third class. But I remember they brought the cup into the school, primary school I was in, Bishop Foley here in Carlow, and I just remember it didn't matter A, B, C, like this big cup coming in, and these were Carlow players. Like you were just, you know, you were inspired. You'd wanted to play for club and county and wanted to win things, but it wouldn't have mattered. You know, it's not as if you'd be going around, oh yeah, that's the B. Like I wouldn't be completely against the B. It was just, I suppose, in a couple of different formats that came out and that were proposed for it. That you wouldn't, you know, if I'd look at, like I'm coming towards my end, certainly with county football, and I would look at the fact that like I'd like to see a development of, I think there's huge talent in Carlow for a county as small as we are, and the last few years have done that no harm in lads wanting to play, but you do need games, and I think one of the proposals put forward was that it was going to be, you go into the B and it's a knockout, and I suppose there is a way out. You get up past Division 3 and then it doesn't happen yet. But I suppose I just think there's something, having a couple of experiences over the last few years of playing bigger teams, there's something about the big day, playing the teams. Like it's nice to know, yeah, we lost to Tyrone, we lost to Monaghan, but when you see that team progress to a last four or a final or whatever it might be, or even to beat Kildare and they go on to beat Mayo, like in a county like Carlow, you take huge encouragement from that. You know, we know it wasn't a one-off performance. Yeah, it was a pretty perfect performance on the day, but it wasn't a one-off performance, and we felt it was coming. And I think just to take whatever B version or Tailteann Cup version that comes out, I would like to see that it doesn't take away the opportunity for people from Carlow to have those experiences. I would love to see the league take a bigger part. I think it's funny, like, because while I argue for the bigger days and playing the bigger teams, the league is so enjoyable. Like 7 or maybe 9 weeks, 7 games in 9 weeks, hopping on a bus, and that's enjoyable in the depths of winter. I could only imagine what it'd be like to play it in, you know, April, May, June type of thing, in better conditions, and having your position in that league lead to something. In other words, you've only yourself to blame as to how far you make it afterwards. And again, that's still presenting the chance to teams, albeit maybe a smaller chance if you're in Division 4 or 3, but it's still presenting a chance to teams to play against the bigger guns, or to have a day out.
Possession crucial from this. How much longer will the referee allow? Dublin lead by a point, and there's the whistle. It's over. It's over.
We earned it by winning the last 2 matches on the road, and that's not going to be taken away from us.
But what I love in hurling, I love players that will never give in.
He hits it. It's over the bar. Oh, holy Moses.